Now, let's look at how the internet got to where it was, or where it is now. It started out in 1968 with the ARPANET. ARPA is the Advanced Research Project Agency of the Department of Defense. And ARPA became DARPA about a decade or so ago. And they had a project there which started with the concept of packet switching. Now, when you make a telephone call, you get a line to your telephone company which attaches to a line to the next telephone company, which attaches to a cross-country line to another telephone country, and then it goes to somebody, and all that goes over that single line is your single phone call. These scientists, these computer scientists that were working for ARPA, decided that why not use that single line to transmit lots of different messages. And to do that, you split the message up into packets with an address at the beginning of each packet, and then you can send a large number of communications over the same line. Okay, the original ARPANET connected 4 contractors of ARPA, 4 people. They were developing it, and it expanded to more contractors. The original contractors were Bo Beranek and Newman, the MIT Lincoln Lab, and places like that, really high-tech development areas. It expanded to more contractors and then to university researchers, and it just from there it grew rapidly. Email was established in 1971. I had an early, I didn't have a 1971 email terminal, but I had an email terminal in the mid-80s, I guess. TCP/IP, which is the protocol that these packets are transmitted over the internet today, was established in, what did I say, 1983. That's been a long time. Well, the only people that were on the ARPANET were Defense Department contractors of some sort. And so they decided that the National Science Foundation should set up a network of which ARPANET was one of the nodes. And that happened in 1981. And then in 1992, they expanded it to let anybody on the internet through ISPs, internet service providers like Verizon or Comcast or whatever. That was in 92. Hypertext markup language, which is the language used for websites, was done in the 90 to 92 range. It's now up to version 5. But when ARPANET was designed, there was no thought about security. Defense Department contractors are not going to hack each other. They have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of business with the government. They aren't going to try anything funny. So no security was built into the internet. Nobody thought it was necessary until much, much later. And of course, we have recent advances like flash videos, but I won't get into that. Now, before the internet, there were 2 rules of life. Any of you who have a little life experience and a little common sense will know there are 2 rules of life. Life is not easy and life is not fair. Now with the internet, we have a 3rd rule of life. The internet is not secure. And interestingly enough, all of this stuff was discussed in this Washington Post article this last weekend. Let's see, there it is right there. There's the URL. I think it was on Drudge, but this is an excellent article written by one of the technology people at the Washington Post. The question is, do you care about your personal privacy? Everybody that shakes their heads probably better leave now, because you won't be interested in anything else I'm saying. The fact is that any personal data you let go onto the internet is like publishing it in the New York Times. It will be available to everyone until you die, and even beyond that. Okay, here's what I think about what you should not let go onto the internet. If you're talking about trivial stuff, you don't mind everyone knowing about, I mean everyone, that's okay. But the question is, what personal details about your life are really trivial? Well, I don't think there are many. And there is a recent danger, which was recently uncovered by a guy who went to China and then to Russia. The government is now spying on American citizens.
Those two governments?
The U.S. government is spying on American citizens. When I was at the CIA, it was illegal to take a satellite intelligence imagery over the United States. Illegal. The only exception to that was with high-level approval of certain calibration sites where the lat line and elevation of a number of photo-identifiable points were known. It was used to calibrate the sensors. Other than that, it was illegal. Now, their NSA is scooping up phone records, emails, you name it. It's a disaster. Your personal financial information should not go onto the internet in any form. None. Your work or business information, also no. And that includes sexy talk and sexy photos of your wife or significant other. Don't do that either. Where your personal data is not secure. If your PC is not connected to the internet, it is very secure. Your PC behind a firewall and a good virus scanner is relatively secure. Your cell phone, iPhone, iPad, tablet, anything wireless is not secure. Emails are not secure. They go over the internet. Cloud storage is not secure. It's a disaster.
Could I ask a question?
Yes?
On this, where your cell phone, iPad, and iPhone, and tablet, anything that's wireless, not secure, but yet a printer has to have access to your computer, can they go through your printer to go through to your computer?
No. No, you can't get into a computer through a printer. But if it's wireless, it's out in the cell, it comes from the cell phone tower. And you can catch that stuff and hack it so easily, it's unbelievable. Also, Facebook, Twitter, and the like are another disaster. Don't put any personal information, financial information, any of that on Facebook or Twitter. And basically, it just says put nothing on an internet device, that is a wireless device, you don't want the world to see forever. In other words, your smartphone. Keep your personal information off of your smartphone. Okay, now, how do you protect your personal data? The safest, of course, is the PC not connected to the internet. That's what the CIA does, and they have not had any hacks. They have their own personal, their own corporate network, which is not connected to the internet. It's just connected to a bunch of workstations all over Washington, D.C. and all over the country. You have to have higher than top secret security clearance. In other words, you can't get in without your badge. They can get to those computers are people with higher than top secret security clearance. Oh, God. Oh. Well, that's a good question. He asked about internet banking. I use a small degree. That is, I can log on to my bank account and check my checks that have cleared, but I do not allow them to transfer funds. I do not allow them, I do not pay any bills. I don't have bill paying turned on, so no funds can go out. Okay, I just check my balance and check which checks have cleared. That's all. Okay. The CIA has their not connected to the internet. That's not practical for people. You never put, I'm going to never anything personal or private or important on a wireless internet device. Now, we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty. On your PC store data, on your own local hard disks, never on my hard disks are cheap now. I'll get to that in a moment. On your PC, use a good firewall and virus scan. And don't use software from a firm that has a financial incentive to insert Trojans into the software, like Google Chrome, Microsoft Internet Explorer, Apple Safari, and Opera. They all will sweep up your browsing history and sell it. And decreases your security dramatically.
So, what kind of browser do you use?
I'll get to that in a moment.
And is it true that all companies you have there sell it? We know Google sells it, but I don't believe they all do.
They all do. Don't believe when Microsoft says, oh, we don't sell your information. That is, in text, call that BS. And don't depend on Microsoft to protect your data. Protect it yourself. And beware of browser cookies and Flash super cookies. And I'll get to that in a moment. And on your secure PC, disable all questionable processes and services like auto update and telnet. Auto update allows Microsoft to come in and add things to your computer at any point. You don't want that. You want to choose, as our previous speaker, you want to choose what goes onto your computer, not let anybody auto update. Every application out there will ask you if you want to auto update. Say no when you install it. And Telnet allows people to come in over the internet, log into your computer, and hack you. You don't want that. Disable Telnet. I'll do that in a moment. Okay, let me talk about the tools I use to protect my PC. I have 2 local 1 terabyte hard drives where all my data is stored on my big computer. And they cost less than $100 each. I think they were about $9 each from Newegg.com. And they are made 15% full. And I store all of the pictures my wife takes. I store just tons of stuff. 2 terabytes is just a lot of data storage. You don't need to use the cloud. Okay. Now, the things that you must have, a good firewall is probably the first on the list, and it's the first on my list. I use the Zone Alarm firewall, and they have a free version. I like free software. I hope we can see this. They monitor everything coming in and everything going out. Any program that you up that is not supposed to be sending anything out, something will pop up like this. You probably can't read that. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can, no, I can't. This is PowerPoint. But it tells you what the program is and what it's trying to do. And what I always do is I click this little box, apply this setting to all the instances of this program, and then click deny. Most of these that pop up, I click deny. Allow very, very few times. They also check anything coming in that is suspicious, and one of these may pop up. I like Zone Alarm because it allows you to tell the Zone Alarm which programs are good, like Firefox and email reader. They're supposed to connect to the internet. Most of the programs you install are not supposed to connect to the internet. That's a gen built into the programs. So you just want to prevent that. Okay. The next thing is a good antivirus. I like the Viper antivirus. And the reason is that the Viper antivirus in many tests has about the highest percentage of viruses that they actually detect. They update 4 or 5 times a day their virus signature files and download them. And they don't eat up your CPU. A lot of virus scanners, if you don't have a very powerful CPU in your computer, will slow your computer down dramatically. I have a computer that was meant to do software development on large satellite images, so it has 6 3.5 gig processor and 12 gigabytes of RAM. Most people don't run a computer that powerful and don't need a computer that powerful. So the Viper cost about $40 for the first year for one computer, and I think it's less when you renew. It's to me, that's fairly cheap because they upgrade their virus signature files very frequently. And let me see. This is you can actually right click on the Viper icon in the lower left on your taskbar, and it'll tell you what your latest virus skin file number is, the date, time it was released. So you can. I like that. Now, 95% of viruses are written to attack weaknesses in the Microsoft Outlook email reader. 95%. That's the estimate that's been given. Well, the first thing I do is I use an application called Mail Washer. Oops. I think that's just come loose. Let me stick this back here. Is that still working all right? Okay. Mail Washer, it's not, that's it. And what it does is you Mail Washer first before you download any email. Mail Washer downloads the first couple hundred lines of text only, no code, no images, nothing like that that could contain viruses. and to who it's from. There's the email address and what the subject is, and you can set certain senders as blacklisted. I have 3 here in this example, and when that's set, it automatically checks the delete button, and you can then look at the other ones, decide whether they're really from someone you know, and they aren't from someone you know who says, quote, look at this website and has a URL in it. That's definitely a virus. Somebody has hacked their computer, gotten their friends list, and sent this thing to them. Does everybody know about that? Yeah, okay. You then click this button up here, which is process the mail button. It deletes everything that's been checked to delete. All that's left on the server, on the Verizon or the Comcast server, is the ones you want to download. You can then download those. That gets rid of so many viruses, it's unbelievable. And I'm always getting these strange emails, and I just delete them from the server. They never come onto my hard disk. I like Belcher. And as I said, 95% of viruses in your computer are designed to attack weaknesses in Microsoft Outlook. So I don't use Microsoft Outlook for an email reader. I use an old program I've been using for 15 years called Eudora. And it's now free. And Mozilla, the company that makes Firefox, not a company, the open source consortium that makes Firefox also has a new open source version of Eudora, or they have an email reader called Thunderbird. I would recommend one of those to y'all. There's the open source edition of Eudora, and basically that's what this is what the old version, the 7.1 looks like, which used to be sold, and I bought it back 15 years ago. Still use it, love it. Okay, now browsers. I mentioned Microsoft Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, and all that stuff. This is an open source. Firefox is an open source program. What does open source mean? It means that it isn't made by a company for profit. It's made by a group of computer programmers who love to write computer code. They do that for a hobby. And the source code is supplied with, you can download this code, examine it yourself, figure out what it does, and compile it on your computer if you want. I don't. I just download the executable. But open source means there's no financial incentive built in to hack all the places you've gone to. So I like Firefox. That's the only browser I use. And Firefox has a new version out about every couple months, every 6 weeks or whatever. Let me just point out a few things. This is the privacy screen. I always use private browsing mode. You can click, tell sites I don't want to be tracked. They don't have to obey that. They can ignore that, so I just forget about that. Private browsing mode means they don't allow a lot of, all right. Private browsing mode keeps you private, and Firefox is set up so that when you close Firefox, all of the history of your browsing activity is wiped out. So I go to a couple of websites look at them, close Firefox, everything is wiped out, you start fresh, so there's nothing there for a cookie to get. Yes?
If the source code is open, does it make it easier to hack?
The question was, if the source code is open, does it make it easy to hack? No, it doesn't. The consortium has a group which reviews all changes to the code and releases them. Nobody can hack it because the consortium keeps an eye on that. Okay.
Let me borrow you 1 second.
Oh,
There you go. Thank you.
it came off. I'm sorry. It came off again. I guess I'm moving around too much. Now, I use AdBlock. He mentioned, our previous speaker mentioned AdBlock Plus, and I also use a Firefox add-on called Better Privacy. And let's look at that. AdBlock Plus keeps ads from appearing on your web pages. And in particular, it keeps intrusive ads, and in particular, it keeps these damn flash videos from playing and slowing it. The thing is, a video is very high data download. If you don't have that, if all you have is text on the page, downloads instantly. But if you have all these flash videos, it can take, 10 or 15 seconds to download a page. I like that. And Better Privacy is another Firefox add-on which disables these flash video super cookies. Super cookies are cookies that are not eliminated by the normal cookie deletion. But I think Firefox now, particularly with Better Privacy installed, deletes the super cookies when you close Firefox. And in fact, it may, I haven't really read up on Better Privacy, but I like the idea. Okay. Now, I also use CCleaner, which is mentioned before. It removes useless and suspicious files. And they have a free version. I love free software. Now, they want you to buy their enhanced version. You don't need to. The free version works just fine. And here's an example of some of the stuff: system temporary files, all of that sort of stuff. A lot of this stuff is sort of like cookies and things like that. You run it, and then you analyze it, tells you what's there. You then run the cleaner. It deletes all the files. What better? And I use the DuckDuckGo search engine. They claim they do not track your browsing and sell that information. They have a different business model. But I like the fact that they say they don't track your browsing. I can't guarantee that, but I would recommend you use that. Now, the other thing, oh, I'm sorry, am I in your way there? The other thing is, the last thing, I'm sorry?
You're kind of blocking the screen. Not somebody else to walk.
But I'm blocking somebody else.
Sit down.
Well, okay, let me sit down and maybe I won't be blocking people. The last thing, and I mentioned this before, but let's look at a few things. Automatic updates. Absolutely not. You don't want Microsoft to update some crappy, buggy, new thing on your computer. You want to wait, as our previous speaker said, until everybody else has gone through the pain That's right. Don't, and in fact, I never update. Very seldom. Okay, there's a cute little thing called Telnet. Enables a remote user to log into your computer. Oh, absolutely not. See all this disabled here? This is in the services running page, and there are just a bunch of these that need to be disabled. Let me see. Terminal services allows multiple users to connect to your to machine. No, you're the only one you want to connect to your machine. Just set it to disabled. You go into services, you right click on it, you set it to disabled. It won't start. Not there anymore. Even though it's in the registry, it's not there anymore. And there's a bunch of others there. I have to read that because the font is very small in this application when I copied it. Okay, I think sell it first thing tomorrow. Why? Because Microsoft has two profit centers, Windows and operating system in 15 years. The Vista operating system was a complete disaster. Windows 7 was a little better. Windows 8 is a complete disaster. Who knows what Windows 10 will be? Probably a complete disaster. And Office now, it's taken a while, but there's OpenOffice, which is free. It's a Unix application which has been ported over to PCs. And in fact, Microsoft's operating system probably, I started running Unix. You know about Unix. Does everybody know about Unix? No. Unix was designed at the Bell Labs before Windows came into being. And it has been developed by a bunch of open source programmers for a long time, and it had a disadvantage. It was a text-based operating system rather than a menu-based operating system like in Windows. Now there's a free distribution called Ubuntu, which is it's a version of Linux, which is a version of Unix, runs on the Unix kernel. And it has a Windows-looking
Friendliness.
Yeah, and I started using that 5 or 6, 7 years ago, and the problem was that AutoCAD didn't have a version that ran under Ubuntu, and I don't think Photoshop did either, and those are two things that I needed, so I stuck with Windows. But the open source people are not always up to speed at the same time that, in other words, it takes them a little longer to get something like that running, but once it is, it's usually in very good shape. And Ubuntu offers their stable upgrades are guaranteed for support for 5 years free. And it's 5-year support free if you don't want to upgrade to the next stable upgrade, which probably is a year or so after that.
Ubuntu is very, very difficult for, I think, the average user to, sign on to.
Really?
I think so. I mean, how many here have ever heard of it?
Probably none. Well, probably 3 or 4. Okay, let me go to some more questions. Well, I have disabled process services. Services are things that are loaded when you boot your computer up, that are running all the time.
But I can still go into like Heat Viewer.
You can go into what?
Heat Viewer, where somebody can help you from somewhere else.
No, that's disabled. No, you don't want somebody to help you on your computer.
And then somebody else.
Oh, well then he can come to your house.
I have to give him the code number first, which shows up on my computer. If
Well,
I give him that code number, then he fixed a lot of problems which I wasn't able to fix. I
Okay.
didn't even have to be there.
well, all right. My theory is if you want somebody to work on your computer and you know them very well and trust them, have them come to your house and log on for them.
He's in Germany.
Oh, he's in Germany. Well, that would be difficult. Find somebody in Sarasota.
And they charge an arm and a leg. He doesn't. Anyway, if you have some other protections like Norton or Avaya or something, do they interfere? You mentioned if I want to change? Or do I have
The
to-
antivirus in the firewall should protect you from people trying to come in through a random, what do they call those?
Random attack.
No. Those things in the, those port numbers, a random port. But you don't want, in my humble opinion, I don't want anybody coming in over the internet and trying to do something on my computer. So I've just disabled that.
Now that I have, for instance, a virus, which is also free, or customers, so I ought to call, if you have them and you want to do the things you can do it, do I have to take them?
Well, you only use one virus scanner and one firewall at a time.
So you have to get rid of the others. Okay.
So basically, you have to decide what you want. And many of these virus scanners and firewall companies now have enhanced versions that also include the other. And I just turn on the Viper antivirus and I just turn on the alarm firewall. And that's all that's there.
I just bought a Bit Defender. You know that?
No, I don't.
Bit Defender is very helpful, like when you want to deal with things, like you said. I also only use it not for payments, but just to view my bank account and to print out my statement. And what it does, it gets into automatically, and you do not type anymore on your regular keyboard. It shows a keyboard on the monitor, and that's where you put it in, so they cannot read that or something. They do it all the good things.
So he's probably talking about a password manager or a software.
Oh, okay, it's a password manager type deal then. I use password. Yeah, passwords are you should use a strong password. The problem is remembering the password. And don't use the same password everywhere. And so the thing is I have to write down the passwords and keep them somewhere, and that's not very secure. When I was at CIA, I was given a new password every 6 months, and I had a hard time remembering it. But fortunately, I was only on one network, on a Unix box, on one network that had a password, so I only had to remember one password. But if you have passwords for everything, it gets very difficult, and the problem is it makes people want to use easy to guess passwords, and that's even worse. Okay.
There are several password companies that will tell you that they will keep passwords for you. How secure are they?
Where do they keep them?
In the cloud.
On the cloud, yes. Oh, that is really safe. I mean, just use your imagination. Don't do it. Don't save your passwords on the cloud. Those can be hacked easily.
Would you comment on Kaspersky's total security?
I don't use that, and I'm not that familiar with it. It's supposed to be a good firewall. firewall.
They pushing it very
I'm
hard.
not, no, a scanner.
When I get this list, a lot of times, I don't know what these things are, or whether they should be disabled. I want to find out whether you can safely disable some of these.
Well,
Even reading Google, I Googled the term, still not sure whether I disable it.
yeah, that's a good question. What I do is a description that Microsoft has given for each service. But what you can do is you can write down on a piece of paper the things you've disabled and then reboot and see if the computer still works. If it's not working very well, then maybe you should go back and make it manual rather than disabled. Manual means it can start. You notice I have a bunch of manuals down there too.
Nothing automatic on there, am I correct?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of automatics on there too. Things that you have to have with the operating system. But the list is about 4 pages long like that. Yes, sir.
You say that wireless is very prone to hacking. What if you have a MAC address that is coded? Did I have any?
All right, say again.
On wireless communication, you say your computer and the printer, you say that's open for use. What if you have addresses on all the wireless?
Well, all right. If you have a wireless system set up in your own home, which uses the MPA2 security protocol, it's relatively good security. But if you have a cell phone, if you're doing it over a cell phone link to your Verizon or AT&T or whatever provider, that's just in the open air. I mean, it can be captured. In fact, there was an article in a newspaper here today that the FBI was flying planes around over shopping centers, picking up the cell phone all of the cell phones that were in the shopping center. I guess they were looking for somebody, or probably not looking for somebody. They were probably just checking it out.
So cell phone data is not protected at all, you're saying?
None. It's cell phone data.
Okay, so if you know this, then you'll know it's true that there is a reason why Dick Cheney's heart rate monitor has all wireless turned off. Okay? If Dick Cheney has someone telling him your heart rate, your pacemaker, whatever's in your chest, turn off the wireless, remove the chip, does it? There's a reason why there is no such thing as perfect security. It's whoever has the best brain. That's all it boils down to.
So if we were getting a new system.
Yes, sir.
You didn't mention the use of credit cards.
Credit cards, what about them? I use credit cards.
Amazon.
I use my credit card on, actually I use my credit card on Amazon. Well, I want to buy a book from Amazon or something like that.
Security, convenience. How much of a balance do you want between the two of them?
Yeah.
Very convenient, not secure, very secure, not convenient.
However, there's one thing that's going on now, which you may or may not be aware of. Chips in credit cards, like that. See that thing? Yeah, the Europeans have it. You can buy on eBay for like $35 a little chip reader which you can put in a briefcase and pass by someone in a checkout line, read every bit of information off of that chip. You notice this chip has been destroyed so I don't have to carry around a metal protective thing. And if they insist I use the chip reader, I say I'll use my other credit card.
The steel woven wallets is actually woven with steel thread, so then the RFID has a harder time coming off of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Comment on cell phones suggests to me you should not get rid of your landline.
No, that just means don't put personal data on your cell phone. You know, if you have a cell phone like me, which is one of the old, you know, drop in the river flip phones, I don't do text. I have that turned off. I just talk on it. So, that's right. He has one too. But if you have one of these phones, you know, you are all of it, you know, you're doing, what do they call it? Twitters and Facebooks and putting all sort of information on there. It's just available to anybody who wants to hack it. I mean, you know.
But they'll have your location, and they can follow you around.
Yeah, well, those phones have GPS receivers in them too. Often take out the battery. But mine just stays in my vehicle. I don't carry it with me. Yes, ma'am. No, speak into the microphone, please. I can't hear you.
If somebody steals your cell phone, is there any way of tracing it or getting it back?
I'm sorry? If somebody steals it?
Somebody steals your cell phone, is there a way to trace it back? Actually, with the new iPhone, you can.
You know, I think the answer is yes, but I don't have one, so I don't know. Yes, ma'am?
I go home and disable Chrome and Internet Explorer because I like to listen to a podcast. So I put the podcast on Chrome and then I go to Firefox and do my stuff. And I'm just sitting there, does it do anything? I mean, it doesn't interfere with me, I just wondered.
Well,
I should disable it? Is it looking at anything or doing anything if it's just sitting there and I don't have it open?
I don't know because I didn't write the code.
Okay.
But Firefox, you can open multiple windows of Firefox. Make one do your podcast, and the next one do your.
I don't know how to do that, or else
You click on it twice down in the taskbar.
Do you know how to open a second tab? Do you know how to open a tab in Firefox?
No, I've never done it.
When you can right-click on a URL and say open it up in another tab, or you can say open it up in another window.
Yeah, or
2 copies of Firefox, or 2 windows of it.
So I can listen to the podcast and on.
yes.
Oh, okay.
And normally in Firefox, when you have the tabs enabled, there's a little plus on the right-hand side of the tab. You click on that, and another whole Firefox screen open up. You know, so.
There's so much stuff to look at that I never tried.
Well, I mean, but you can't look at but one thing at a time.
That's how.
What is the answer to
Well, if I were you, I would not only disable but uninstall Chrome and just use Firefox. That's my recommendation.
Should I uninstall Internet Explorer also?
No, do not uninstall Internet. Because your updates will stop.
But
If you decide you want one down, you'll be in trouble.
if you want to, no, I have Internet Explorer installed because it came with the operating system, but I just never use it.
But with Google Chrome it is.
Well, try it with Firefox. My banking, I have 2 banks, different banks, and they both work just fine with.
You have more money on it than you do.
I doubt it.
I think we got time for one more question.
How about this gentleman over here?
On the list there, you have the HTTP SL as a manual. What does that mean when you want how does that work manual? Usually you click to buy something and you look to see that it's a secure line and you use it. Does this change that procedure?
It's going to start on demand.
Yeah, I think if it's needed, it starts. And the reason for the manual things is that you don't want processes running that take up RAM, take up CPU cycles if you don't need them right then.
Does that one do that?
That, yeah, under manual, it starts when it's called for. If it says disabled, it will not start when called for. But manual, it will start when called for. It doesn't start when you boot up. So you don't have it running all the time. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you very much.